Welcome back to Daytime Ottawa. You may recall yesterday we had a wonderful author on the show, and part of the conversation we had was her really celebrating and thanking her publisher. And I'm proud to introduce you to her publisher, Michel Weatherall, Broken Keys Publishing and Press, and author yourself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Great to have you back. First of all, you've been on the show so many times in the past, Michel, with your fabulous books. We're going to talk about your latest one in just a moment, but let's introduce you to some viewers that are meeting you for the first time. Give them an idea a little bit about your background as a writer.
Yeah, I began in April of 2015. Mostly the Broken Keys Publishing was self-publishing my own titles, and it was the Symbiote trilogy that came out and a couple other ones that followed. And the plan was always to move into publishing other people's works. And originally it was supposed to launch in the beginning of 2019, but then the pandemic hit and everything kind of stumbled and more or less waited, and then now that we're in the beginning of 2022, we decided to go into it on a larger scale. Myself, I have a background of about 35 years in the printing publishing industry, so some aspects of that were a walk in the park for me, and it's nice because that first step to publishing your own work is a scary step. Even for myself, a scary step, and it's nice to bring that ability to people to get their material out there and hopefully easily get out of there.
You've been so good over the years as well, you know, promoting other authors. You know, it's not a competition, right? I mean, there's just so much talent. Just speak to the amount of talent that we have right here in this community.
Oh yeah, I mean, and Ottawa is rich with literary talent. It really is. It's one of the drives. What I want to do as a publishing company is to get those names out there, and there's so many, and it varies. What I like with our anthologies, there's always been a variety of the first-time writers to award-winning writers, and it's nice to see that mix in there. Just to give an idea that within the last, even during the pandemic, we've released 3 anthologies over those 2 years, or 2.5 years, and it's just a testament to what we have in the city. So.
And you've expanded, right? I mean, we had Anna on the show yesterday with her fantastic book, Cat and the Meanies.
That's right.
And that was something you wanted to concentrate on is children's books through Kids Imprint. Tell me about the inspiration and why you decided on that.
It started out with Jana Begovic has a kid's book out. She had Little Dragon. That was, I believe, last year. Yeah. And that went out. And then the company logo was originally, most of my own material is horror-based. So the logo didn't really fit the kid feel very much. Right. So we came up with the idea of Broken Keys publishing kids with brighter colors, just as an imprint with that. And then Anna's book, Cat and the Meanies, came along. And then there's another 2 that we're in negotiation with putting out. And it kind of struck me as like, wow, we actually have a kids section to go with this. And why not? I mean, you follow where it leads you sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, on October 13th, you released this book. Tell me a little bit about this, because we're talking community and the great amount of writers we have in this community. This speaks to that, doesn't it?
Ghosts and Other Chthonic Macabras, there's a mouthful, was the 3rd anthology we released. And this one has 11 local authors, and they were all horror or ghost stories. Okay. And it was released on October 13th, just in time for Halloween. It's still available now. And again, it's another tribute to the talents we have in this city, and that's really what I want to emphasize and spotlight on, is there is a lot of talent in Ottawa.
Well, you've mentioned, yourself over 30 years of experience, so let me pick your brain, on behalf of, authors and writers that are out there now. What kind of advice do you give to people? I mean, first and foremost, start writing. But, the publishing side of it, I find, is overwhelming for a lot of people.
It can be.
What advice can you give them?
Find a good publisher.
Right.
It's easier said than done. One of the things, and I try to keep my focus away from the negative, but there is a lot of predatory businesses out there. And that's the kind of thing you need to stay away from. You shouldn't be putting money up front. You should be working hand in hand with the publisher. And that's one of the things I believe in, is success and failure should be both go hand in hand with the publisher and the author. You follow that journey together.
So that's one of the biggest red flags if somebody's asking you for money up front. Any other red flags to look out for?
That's probably the biggest one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good warning sign. Just try to avoid that.
For people that have a story in mind, and I'm on your website, and I know, somebody's going to say to themselves, I'm going to go and to Broken Keys and let them know I have a great idea. great ideas are one thing.
Yeah.
Putting pen to paper is another thing. Let's talk about that and the importance of actually seeing something and how you work with an author.
Yeah, that one of the big things we do with that, were the beginning process would be email us, synopsis of your story, a brief bio, and maybe a few pages to a chapter, and we'll look at that. But ultimately, we're looking for, and when I say a final product, I don't mean final in the sense of it's ready to publish instantly, but the story's written.
Okay.
Because you don't really want to get into the world of helping write the story as opposed to getting the final story out, rounding off the edges and cleaning it up a little bit. But you're right. It takes a lot of discipline to actually write that, and it is. I mean, the last full novel I wrote, it was in 2019, Narrow Sojourning. And I've been promising the sequel for the last 3 years now, and I haven't done anything about it.
Really?
But part of it is scary because it totally envelops you.
Right.
Like you become a slave to it for that year or 18 months or 2 years it takes to write it, and at the cost of everything else around you. And when you're not in that mode, which I'm not in that mode, I look at it and say, I don't know if I want to go back there.
Well, and putting so much commitment into it as a publisher, right? Then you can't help other authors at the same time.
Yeah.
Any other books we should keep an eye on that are coming up, perhaps?
There is we just signed on Pat Moore she has a children's book called Clean Water for Lucan.
Okay.
That's coming out. And then there's a few other ones that are lined up. One of them is the Spanish author probably going to English for the first time, but
really?
I can't really say a lot yet because nothing's ironed out.
Well, that's what we learned too with Anna yesterday. Is I think a lot of people think it has to be a brand new piece of work. It could be an older piece of work for whatever reason got published, and then the business in Anna's in Anna's instance ceased to exist, or you just wrote it and you haven't found the right fit, and that's why you should never give up.
That's right.
And reach out to people like yourself. We brought up your website online. Michel, thanks so much, and congratulations on all the success so far.
Pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you. We'll be back with more Daytime Ottawa coming up right after this.